Now, when we talk about some of the content that's on your YouTube channel specifically, one video that you did that I love is how to get podcast guests. I love that you mention about reaching out to guests via social media DMs, both in my podcasting life and in my external life. A lot of guests that I've worked with and even clients that I've worked with have been all through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram DMs, as well as email. But I feel like a lot of podcasters may be hesitant to do this because they're not necessarily confident in their own download number, subscriber count, and the different demographics and statistics that they feel they need to attract these high level guests. But what advice do you have for a podcaster who wants to reach out to podcast guests, but may be apprehensive to do so?
So I would say that you'll be surprised at how few people will actually ask for your numbers in general. So I think that it more comes down to how you present yourself and how you position the opportunity to come on your show. So it doesn't matter who you are, even if you have a smaller show, there's something that you can do that can make the exchange valuable to the other person. For one, everybody on this planet likes to talk about themselves. So you're giving them that airtime to talk about themselves. That is something that's valuable to them, and that does carry some weight. In addition to that, you can speak to exactly what it's going to look like and how that's a positive outcome for them. So maybe if it's someone who you see they're trying to infiltrate a different market and you have a bit of an audience, regardless of how small, in that space, you can say, oh, I see you're trying to do this. It shows that you care and that you're actually consuming their content. And my audience is really big into that. I would love to have you come on and hopefully get you some of that kind of audience that you're trying to attract. So it's all about how you position yourself, how you position the show. And the numbers are only a restriction if you really let it be. I think it's crazy how many people will say yes to you to come on your show, but you have to shoot your shot. And the DMs are probably the best place to do it because I don't care who you are. Everybody sees their DMs, and people will say, "Oh, they don't see them." Everyone looks in their DMs, so you're giving yourself a chance. What I would say is that try to be unique if you can. I think that's a very important thing to improve your success rate. So because when it goes into their requests, it only shows like the first line. So I heard this great analogy the other day where it was you have to treat that like you would an email subject line. You want them to click through and open it. So think about that before you send the message. Because if you just started off with hey so and so, they get if it's someone who's very influential, they get tons of those messages from bots or other people. So you want to stand out from the crowd.
Absolutely. And even with the work that I've done, one way that I've felt is really beneficial to reach out is, and I want to touch on something that you said too. You'd be surprised how many people don't look at the download numbers. For years in my life of music outside of podcast hosting, one thing that we learn a lot and one thing we promote to podcasters is coming up with a press kit or a media kit. I still think that's extremely essential. And anyone listening should definitely look into creating one. It could be in the form of a website, but always at least have a media kit in the PDF form, whatnot, also. But you'd be surprised how many opportunities come across the desk by simply just sending the media kit. Sometimes these people won't even look at it, but if you're saying, hey, I'd like to invite you to check out my media kit in, like you said, your unique presentation, then I think a lot of people will go, wow, this person has a media kit. They're professional. They may not even look at that media kit. It just comes off as this person has their stuff together. They know what they want. And, you get that you usually get more by asking and having the professionalism there than just going, hey, do you want to be on my show? Because if you say, hey, do you want to be on my show? You're not going to get anything. But if you at least present that professional background and that professionalism for your show, more often than not, you'll get responses. If you shoot 100 shots, maybe you'll get 10, but those 10 could be the ones that launch you into where you want to be.
100%. And I love that you mentioned that because just like the analogy that you said and the example there, the same is true on social media. It's like the smallest little things make a world of a difference. So essentially, like, you want to answer the questions before they have to be asked. Don't give anyone a reason to say no. So if you come with a very well prepared package, making it very simple and seamless for them, you give them very few reasons to say no. And a lot of people, they want to help out naturally if they can. So if someone has the time and you do so the right way, I think you'll be quite surprised at how many people say yes. And I can say this personally because when I started my show, I was just a kid in college who was like looking around and I'm like, oh, like I don't want to do any of the stuff that I'm doing in school or like that my friends are doing. Like I want to network with different people. It's just
Sure.
to get a feel for it all. And then I started reaching out to people, and some people that I'd never in a million years thought would even respond said, yeah, let's do it. And I had a few episodes at the time. So I think you'll be quite surprised, but it comes down to shooting your shot and giving yourself the opportunity.
And one thing I don't know if we spoke about yet is the ability of being personable when you reach out in these DMs too. One thing that I know has helped me, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this too, is a lot of the times I do have a boilerplate for what I send out in terms of what I'd like to ask for. But
Mhm.
I think that's something you need. However, that introductory paragraph for me is always essential because when we talk about growing a podcast, when we talk about reaching out and having podcast guests, you don't want it to just be like, okay, cool, I sent you the same thing as I sent 100 other people. If you're reaching out to somebody, one thing that I found to be successful is find out about who you're reaching out to, find out about some of the content that they've created, find out about what their staple in that specific community is. Because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you're trying to become part of that community. You're not just trying to build a brand and say, oh, look how many listeners I have. You're trying to build your name to be a name or a brand that's trusted within your niche market. So if you come up and you say, hey, I want to bring you on my show because of this and this that I heard you say, or that I saw you do, or what you represent, in that intro paragraph, I always try to put, hey, my name is such and such. Here's what I am. Like, you're not going to go ahead and just shy away from that, but you can at least open up and say, this is what I appreciate about you. Keep doing the great work. This is how you've affected me. The next paragraph is, here's what I'm looking for. So you always want to be direct, but always show I'm not just emailing everybody and crossing my fingers. I am specifically catering it to you.
Yes, that personalized touch is so important because the more that people get reached out to, the stronger their spam detector becomes. And so like when it comes to to emails that I get or DMs that I get, if there's like any sort of hint of spam or mass messages, I'll just delete it right on site. Because if the person that you're reaching out to or someone that's reaching out to you, if they don't have the effort or the time to put forward that, why would I give my time, right? It's a pretty big no-brainer. So just give yourself the chance by making it personal. And you don't even have to overthink it too. If you just go look at their content, it's going to be pretty easy to tell what they care about, what they're about, and what they're looking to do. And just speaking to that clearly, if they're sharing these things on social media, it's because they're looking to help others in through those messages. So they want a platform to do that.